So with that, let's move up to the Maryland Terrapins, one of the most experienced teams in the country coming back. They are currently second on Phil Steele's kind of returning production or returning roster continuity rankings. They have a quarterback that a lot of people seem to be kind of sneaky excited about in Malik Washington. Mike Locksley, been there a long time. This is his eighth season as head coach, but he spent 18 total seasons on Maryland's staff in various different roles. So this is a team that, like Northwestern, their over-under is 5.5. The over is plus 115. The under is minus 140. So a little bit more of a forecast for them to not become bowl eligible than, the over is kind of the underdog on this. But Ryan, Maryland, the Fighting Turtles, what do you make of them this year?
I was pretty shocked to see that they had so much production coming back. And I really like Mike Locksley as a coach and a recruiter. He seems to always get a big recruit or two from that DC area. So I think it's almost put up or shut up time, though. They need to have a season where they win 6 or 7 games, or else it's just getting a little stale there. I think Maryland, at one point, they had the aspirations of being the Oregon of the East Coast with Under Armour and really turning that program into something. And they just seem to not be able to win those 50-50 games they need to get over that hump, to not even necessarily really compete for like the playoff, but just kind of be at the top end of the Big Ten. And I think that this is the year they kind of have to do it. They have a roster that is capable. Am I confident they will? Not at all, but I kind of like rooting for them. I like rooting for Mike Locksley. So if I had to choose on the over-under, I would say over, but it's not something I will be putting any money on at all.
Fair enough. Marsh, I know you used to be somewhat of a fan of the Terps in college hoops, but never really a football guy. That being said, any Maryland optimism from the Marsh camp in 2026?
Yeah, first of all, shout out Juan Dixon, Chris Wilcox, Steve Blake. That's a run that was pretty awesome. Had me juiced. I like following them that year. But yeah, back to football. I actually like what Mike Locksley's doing. I'm in the same camp as Ryan here. I look at Malik Washington and what he did as a freshman, and then you look at the defensive side of the ball, Zahir Mathis, Sidney Stewart, what they did as freshmen, combining for 67 tackles, 13 sacks. I mean, Mike Locksley's got some great recruits coming into their second year, and I think when we look at that on paper, it's like, hey, you did a great job as freshmen. You popped a little bit. Now it's time to really make it consistent. And I think that's what they're looking for. And Ryan touched on that too. But like over 5.5, I'm optimistic that they'll get this over as well. Honestly, I mean, I like Malik Washington. The kid's 6'5", 230. They're talking about using his legs more. I look at their schedule. First 4 weeks, they play FCS school, I think, UConn, Virginia Tech, UCLA, and then the 5th week is Nebraska before they go to Ohio State. I wouldn't be shocked if they win 3-4 of those games right out of the gate. So you're looking at 5.5 as far as the over. If you're keeping track at home, I'm on Michigan State, Rutgers, Maryland overs. At some point, one of these is going to hit, and we're just going to hedge the entire time. So I like Maryland over 5.5 wins and some of the young talent they have. And this is a prove-it year for Locksley.
Yeah, I meant to mention they finished the season on an 8-game losing streak last year. So it really is time for Locksley to get it stabilized and turned around, or I think they will move on after this year.
Yeah, look, I think they do have some winnable games on the schedule. If you look at the first month of the season, I by my account, there's 3 kind of toss-up, coin flip type games that they really need to get to the over on that 5.5, right? You got UConn on the road, you got Virginia Tech at home, you got UCLA at home, and Nebraska on the road. I think you got to be at least 4-1 going into Ohio State. And then, even if you play Ohio State competitive for a half, it's a solid showing, competitive showing, then I think you can go into the second half of the season, home games against Rutgers and Illinois and Wisconsin, road game against Purdue. So I don't hate their schedule. I would probably lean more heavily towards the over for them than I would teams like Northwestern and Rutgers that we just talked about. But it all comes down to, can they get a little bit of improvement on their defense? And does Malik Washington take a step forward as a young year 2 quarterback? I think he can. But yeah, got to start the year off hot and get some momentum. And then you kind of chalk up, there's a few schedule losses. You're probably just not going to beat Ohio State or USC on the road, but pretty much everything else is potentially a winnable game for you. So let's go Fighting Turtles. Get the job done this year. Keep Mike Locksley around. He's a good guy. And let's get some momentum going into 2027 for Malik Washington and the Fighting Turtles. All right.